Hello students, I am Professor V Ratna and today our topic of discussion is strategic management process. The strategic management process, there have been several academicians who have tried to give their different models for the purpose of formulating and the implementation of the strategy. One of the first models of the strategic management process was developed by Kenneth Andrews in 1965. This model includes the choice of a strategy but ignores the implementation and control. In 1971, Andrews formulated a more complete model that included implementation but it still ignores strategic control and evaluation. Now, if you have a look at the model that was proposed by Andrews, it shows that the starting point is the formulation of the strategy, and the steps in the formulation of the strategy are the identification of opportunity and risk. Number two, determining the company's material, technical, financial, and managerial resources. Number three, personal values and aspirations of the senior management. And number four, the acknowledgement of non-economic activity, responsibility to society. Now, while formulating the strategy, all these factors come into play and a corporate strategy is being formulated, which is the pattern of the purposes and the policies. Okay. And then this corporate strategy is put to implementation, which again comprises of three steps. Number one, organizational structure and relationships, defining and redefining, configuring and reconfiguring the organizational structure and relationships. Number two, configuring and reconfiguring the organizational process and behavior. And number three, about making changes in the way top leadership thinks. Another model that was proposed by William Buick in 1980 comprises of 5 different phases. These 5 different phases are: number one, strategic management elements, which comprises of how to determine the mission, goals, and values of the firm and the key decision makers. The second phase comprises of analysis and diagnosis, to search the environment and diagnose the impact of the threats and opportunities. Number three, the choice, to consider various alternatives and assure that the appropriate strategy is chosen. Number four, putting that strategy to execution, that is to match plans, policies, resources, structure, and administrative style with the strategy. And number five is the step of monitoring and evaluation to ensure the strategy and implementation will meet the objectives. As major contribution to the strategic management process, William Buick considered 2 elements. Number one, enterprise objectives, that is the mission and the objectives of the enterprise, and enterprise strategists who are involved into the process. More so, Buick broke down the planning process into analysis and diagnosis, choice, implementation, and evaluation functions. This model also treats leadership, policy, and organizational factors. Now, as you see on the screen, this is the illustration of the William Buick's model of the strategic management process. Step number one comprising of the strategic management elements. Step number two comprising of analysis and diagnosis. Step number three comprising of choosing these strategies. Number four comprising of the implementation or the execution of these strategies, and number five comprising of the evaluation of these strategies. This model was further bettered by Thomson and Strickland in 1990 when they proposed another model of strategic management. According to them, strategic management is an ongoing process, and as per them, nothing is final and all prior actions and decisions are subjected to future modification. Their model consists of 5 ever-present tasks in the strategic management process. Number one, developing a concept of the business and forming a vision of where the organization needs to be headed. Number two, converting the mission into specific performance objectives. Number three, crafting a strategy to achieve the targeted performance. Number four, implementing and executing the chosen strategy efficiently and effectively Number 5, evaluating performance, reviewing the situation, and initiating corrective adjustments in the vision, mission, objectives, strategy, or implementation in light of actual experience, changing conditions, new ideas, and new opportunities. Thompson and Strickland suggested that the firm's mission and objectives combine to define what is our business and what will it be, and what to do now to achieve organization's goals. How the objectives will be achieved refers to the strategy of the firm. In general, this model highlights the relationships between the organization's mission, its long and short range objectives, and its strategy. Now, as you see, an illustration of the Thomson-Strickland model of strategic management. Task number 1 comprises of developing a strategic vision and mission. Number 2, comprising of the objectives. Number 3, comprising of crafting the strategy to achieve the objectives. Task number 4, comprising of implementing and executing the strategy. And task number 5, comprising of monitoring, evaluating, and taking corrective action. Now, in the model, you can see that there is a feedback loop as well, starting from task number 5, which is recycling as needed if it is required. Furthermore, if the implementation and execution of the strategy requires a change, it can be done depending upon the gaps which are there between the actual and the desired performance, which were manifested in the form of the objectives of the organization. If they require to be changed, then the objectives may be changed. Then the strategic vision and the mission may also be revised if needed by the organization. Now, this, what you see on the screen is a practical and a workable model, which has been derived by taking into consideration the different models that have been proposed by different academicians. And as we can see, there are 4 steps into the strategic management model or the process. Step number 1, comprising of the strategic intent, where the organization lays down its vision, mission, and objectives. Step number 2, comprising of strategy formulation, which comprises of the SWOT analysis and the formulation of the corporate level strategies and the business level strategies and the tactical plans of the organization. Step number 3 comprises of the strategy implementation, where starting with the resource allocation and then the different dimensions of implementation, comprising of the project implementation, the procedural implementation, the structural implementation, and the behavioral implementation. And then strategic evaluation, which comprises of the analysis and the assessment of the results at the end of the strategy period. And then there is a feedback loop. If in case of a gap, the organization can make necessary changes into whatever step the problem has been through. Thank you.